Good day to you, my Space Cat friends. How are you doing? It's lovely to see all of your smiling faces down the line. Today's video is another nugget for all of you beginning to write your own stories. It's all about the story shape. The what now? Story shape? What, like a triangle or a rhombus or something? Well, in a manner of speaking, sort of, yes. It's really useful to think of stories as having a particular shape. It helps you to form your writing and decide where things go. My name is Jules and I bring you rectangular shaped videos on drawing, planning and publishing. In my series on making a picture book, one of the things we talked about was story shapes. This video will unfold the story shape and explain what the heckity heck it is. Put on your imagination goggles and jump on board the story shape roller coaster. Yep, the structure we're going to use today is roller coaster shaped. It's helpful to imagine that shape as you write. This is just one story shape. It's one that's really easy to remember and visualize, so that's why I use it. I always used to use it when I was teaching English GCSE. That's the level that you take at when you're 16 in the UK. So it's really easy to remember, but just need to remind you or let you know that actually there's more than one story shape, and I will show you an example of that at the end. So here is our lovely roller coaster. At the bottom of the ride over here, so this is where our person gets on, and we're going to have a little character. Here he is, looking like, yeah, he's quite a cool day. Gonna go on a roller coaster, hands in pockets, not too worried about anything. And here is the roller coaster. There he is, sitting in his roller coaster seat. And this is the area where it's called the exposition. So I guess it exposes what is going to happen. So we've got down here, we've got characters and setting. And that's what opens up your story. And then around about the beginning of the story, somewhere around here, just as he's setting off on his way up, this is called the Inciting Incident, and that is what starts your story off. It incites the rest of the story. It puts everything into motion. This is what hooks your reader into the story and makes them want to find out what happens next. For example, in Jack and the Beanstalk, we have Jack, who is our character, and his mum sends him off to the market because they have a cow, but they can't afford to keep the cow any longer, and they want to sell the cow to get some money and to be able to eat. And the inciting incident is where Jack goes off and he sells the cow for some magic beans. So that's what makes us want to find out what happens next. And this next bit of the roller coaster, chugging up to the top of the hill up here very slowly and methodically, is where all your problems and obstacles and even sometimes danger occurs. So all of the little parts of the story that start to make the whole thing unfold, it gives you the beginning of that journey, and this is called the rising action. Rising action. So this is where by the end of the story, the end of your journey, all of these things you need to be able to unravel and rectify. It's the hurdles that your character needs to overcome to achieve his goal. You need this rising action because you need to be able to amend the situation. If you're writing for young children, you might just have one thing to overcome. But if you're writing for mid-grade or older, you might have several things to defeat. Like, for example, in the Harry Potter books, it's not just that he has to overcome Voldemort, but he also has problems with Malfoy, or he has to stop Ron Weasley from getting eaten by the giant spider. Okay, so we get to the top here, just nearly at that top point. Oh, look, he's beginning to take a bit more notice of what's going on. And this is called your crisis point. So this is the part of the story just before you get to the top of the roller coaster. It's where everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. It's the part of the story where your reader will wonder how on earth the central character is going to emerge from this in one piece. In Jack and the Beanstalk, it's where he's confronted by the giant. It should happen just prior to or in conjunction with the story climax. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, you'll know that when you get to this top part, it's where the roller coaster, the cart is actually not moving very fast at all, and you get to that very top point here, and you can see all around you, and it's that part where you're kind of going screaming, or just about to start screaming, before you plunge downhill. So that feeling is what you really need to recreate in your story. It's kind of the tipping point. It could go one way or the other. This should be the part of the book where your reader feels that they can't put the book down, because they just have to find out what happens next. And also, this is the part where caring about your character is vital, because if we don't care what happens to this character, if we don't care whether he falls off the top or manages to get down to the bottom okay, then we're not going to really be interested in the rest of the story. Maybe we won't even finish the rest of the story. This next part, where he starts to zoom down like this. He's zooming down the other side of the hill, the roller coaster. This is called the falling action. The problems and the conflicts that you had in the rising action, they all start to unravel here. Falling action wraps up the problems in the narrative and ties up all of those loose ends that you wondered what was going to happen, how they were going to resolve. This part needs to show one by one how those things resolve. Maybe your character is being rescued, like in Little Red Riding Hood when the woodcutter deals with the horrible wolf. This part, plus this next part here, is called the resolution. This is where your satisfaction with the story will come into play. So your resolution, where everything resolves, happens here at that bottom part of the roller coaster. You must make sure that your story has a very satisfying ending. It needs to wrap everything up nicely. All parts of the story need to be explained, and if you think about it, if your young readers have any questions, those things need to be answered here. I can't emphasize enough how much it was all a dream sort of ending just won't cut it. It won't cut it with any of your readers, and really it's a complete cop-out. So don't use that kind of an ending. I will be doing a video on how to create amazing endings and starts to the story very soon. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe so that you know when my video on that comes out. So here we've got to the resolution, and really this is the end of the story. This is where you need to finalise what happens to your character. Do they come out of their situation in one piece, which generally speaking is a good idea, especially for a children's story. There we go, there's our character. Had a lovely ride on the roller coaster. There are other sorts of story shapes, so I just thought I'd run you through an example of Wally and Bert, which is one of my stories. So Wally is a dog and Bert is his best friend, and if we have a scale here of good things that happen, bad things that happen, and this is the start of the story, and over here is the end of the story. So Wally, he's, you know, good things and bad things happen to him, so he's a fairly average kind of dog, as it turns out. But one morning he wakes up and he sees that his flatmate is really sick in bed, so that's a bad thing. But he offers to take her place and go to work instead. And then on his way to work, he gets splashed by a big old stinky bus stop puddle, and that's no good. So anyway, he goes to work, he signs in to Mr. Wong's Chinese restaurant and starts answering the telephone, and he gets muddled up. Mr. Wong kicks him out, and so he walks back to the bus stop. But on his way, he finds a scratch card. But then he discovers that he's lost his money for the bus, and he's feeling really miserable by that point. But luckily he's got Bert with him, and Bert is always a tonic, makes him feel better. So they get home and they find the flatmate has got so much better. She's looking much better now. She's recovered from her headache. And they sit down, have a cup of tea, and then he remembers about the scratch card, and he opens the scratch card and he scratches the foil off and discovers they've won. They've won a year's supply of doggo bones, which are his favourite. And that blender also has said that she is really pleased that they went to work and did a terrible job because Mr. Wong has given her a pay rise. So that is the shape of Wally and Bert. So it's a good idea to recreate this sort of thing with your own story and see what sort of shape your story is. If you love the idea of making stories and have one knocking around inside you, desperate to get out, then give it a go. The best bit of advice I ever had was, what's stopping you? So now I'm asking you, what is stopping you? If you need some help, then check out the link below to my course, which covers subjects as making key decisions, making layouts, how to make a dummy book, the tech side of everything, as well as how to register your book once you've had it published. Make sure you subscribe and ding the bell next to it. Give me a thumbs up because it really does help put this video in front of other people who are going to find it useful. Thanks for your time today. Next week, unbelievably, we are going to be planning for August. So whip out your pens and your bullet journal, make up a whole load of cookies to share with the entire community. I'm off to find my nearest roller coaster. I'll see you next time. Nanu nanu!